So I was sent the script through my company, Denver and Delilah. They were really hoping we would produce it, and that maybe I should consider playing Megyn Kelly. The first part to that was really a no-brainer for us. I mean, it was just instantly, we just knew that the script written by Charles Randolph was spectacular. We were expecting something good, something great, and the script just so surpassed that. It's really just a well-written script, very timely, the subject matter, so and just a great opportunity for a lot of talented women to come together and tell an important story. So all of those things were really exciting. And then, you know, I had to finally like sit down with myself and think, how could I even wrap my head around, you know, playing this woman that's incredibly well known, has a very specific sound to her, look to her. She's controversial. She's complex. Jay Roach, our filmmaker who ended up directing this, and also our producer, he was really the one that kind of like, he gave me that extra little push just over the end line. I trust him immensely. He's a friend of mine. I think he has incredible creative taste. I love his work. But I think more than anything, I felt incredibly safe with him. And I felt like if he was at the helm of this, that I would push myself in a way where it was maybe more risky, but with him, I would feel safe. Today, I think we look at these stories and we see how universal they are, because we're hearing more about them. And the conversation it's in the news. People are talking about it. And how nice to go back to the people who actually catapulted us into this, because really this was the first of its kind. It was a year and maybe a half later, it was Harvey Weinstein. So this was the precipice of it, and it was a really important moment. And to have all of this noise around it is really great. You know, it's undeniable. It's a story that people cannot ignore anymore. And then how do you do that in a way where you can go and watch it in a theater and enjoy yourself? Be devastated, be angry, be mad, but also laugh at the absurdity that this is even happening. Nicole Kidman plays Gretchen Carlson and was just unbelievable in her commitment and her hard work, and just how much she wanted to support this film just blew me away. And you know, there was a time when we had to maybe even push the film, and I called her and I was dreading this phone call of saying like, are you gonna just leave? And she's like, I'm not leaving you, Charlize. I'm right behind you, I have your back. And that was incredibly moving to have that kind of support from women. And when he initially brought him up, I had this moment where I went, that is so wrong, that is so right. It was just so out of the box casting, and Jay is so good at that. And instantly we all just went, we would have never come up with that, but that is brilliant. Because ultimately, you want an actor to be able to, first of all, step into a story that's not focused on him, but really focused on the female perspective, and that already is a heart feat. So to get a guy who has the kind of heart and soul and this kindness and generosity that John Lithgow has is already like 50% of it, right? And we knew that he would come and support all of that. But outside of that, he was just a great Ailes. Like once he got into hair and makeup and came out, and the amount of research he did, and this angle that he came from, yet again, that I was so proud of. You know, he never shied away from the fact that this guy, Roger Ailes, was incredibly charismatic and that people loved him. We shot the elevator scene, I would say, in the middle of the film, of shooting, maybe a little bit more towards the end. And so by then, I think all of us, all three of us, Margot and Nicole and I, had a little bit more of a foothold on what we were doing, and I think we felt a little bit more confident. And so I think that moment where we're all three in the elevator and how much we're communicating without really saying anything, I think Nicole says 3 words in the elevator. I don't know how strong that would have been if we had scheduled that earlier in the film. I think there was something that was just kismet, it was serendipitous that we had that much shooting to be able to just fully stand in our characters and have that be the story, and have that telegraph as much as it did. But it also is just, it says so much about Margot and Nicole. That's just, they are powerhouses, and I was just literally trying to keep up. Because when you work with that level of actor, you got to bring your A game. The bar is set pretty high.
When I first got the script, I think it struck me on a very, obviously a very deep level, but a very deeply moral level, and I felt a certain urge to be a part of that conversation, a conversation about sexual harassment in the workplace, but having that conversation with all its complexities. I think up until reading this script, I guess I'd been so encouraged that the revolution was getting up on its feet, you know, that I don't feel we've had the chance to really explore it and explore the murky gray areas where it's, and this story really isn't, it's not a story of victimization, it's just so much more complicated than that. And I was, you know, when I read the script, I was really struck by how Charles Randolph, the writer, really did approach the conversation with all of its complexities and with incredibly complex characters who, yeah, they feel very conflicted to me, and I'm always attracted to characters with a really strong inner conflict. Kayla Pospisil is a fictional character. That's who I play. She left her local gig working, you know, on the Weather Channel in Orlando to move to New York City, work at Fox News. She, at the beginning of the film, is a low-level associate producer working for Gretchen Carlson, is then transitioning to working for Bill O'Reilly, where she works alongside fellow associate producer Jess Carr, played by Kate McKinnon, who I get to do a lot of my stuff with. So yeah, she's a young... she's a millennial, an evangelical millennial, which was great. I loved that about her, and I think it was quite special to read a Christian character who isn't being made fun of, a young one. I feel like they're not really represented in pop culture. Evangelical millennials aren't really represented in pop culture in a authentic way. I feel like it's, if they're ever a part of a project, it's for comic relief. They're playing, you know, super naive or super eager. They're kind of mocking them, and you know, that wasn't Charles's approach with Kayla. Nicole Kidman plays Gretchen Carlson, Charlize Theron plays Megyn Kelly, and I play Kayla, a fictional character. And they are three very different women, and I think it would be oversimplifying it to categorize their experiences past, present, and future explorations of the central theme of the film. But what I do think we see, how the story differentiates their experiences, I think Gretchen, Nicole's character, is kind of like our moral center of the story. It's her choice that propels the story. I think Megyn is our narrative center. She's our guide throughout the story, and I think Kayla is meant to be the emotional center and the person through which you live through the harassment and its effects. I think all three are crucial to the story. I think it's not so easy to categorize these things and put them into boxes, but I think Gretchen's more kind of gender bullying. Megyn's harassment was something that she kind of went through, came out the other side, and came out even stronger. And Kayla's, you know, experiencing in real time with the audience. The audience is experiencing it with her. So it's hard to fit them neatly into what they are, but that's the best I could do, I suppose. I look up to Charlize already as an actress and a producer, watching another like badass actress, badass producer do her thing and getting to see it firsthand now. it's just wicked. It's so cool, and I'm so happy because she's a real producer. It is not a vanity title. She is there. She's on set on days when she doesn't need to be on set, on days when she's not working. Obviously, I'm not privy to the pre-production schedule, and I won't be privy to the post-production schedule, but for main production, she is there, and that part of it I get to witness. And you can tell that she's been ingrained in this process from the beginning. You can tell that she's, approached this project with the level of dedication that I feel that Charles and Jay and everyone on the project really has. I don't think you take on a subject like this lightly, and Charlize certainly hasn't. You can see the work. My first day of acting, I actually got to do a scene with both John and Nicole. And seeing Nicole's Gretchen, I was interested to see what that was going to be like, because the whole point of Gretchen at this moment in the script is that she is, becoming unwatchable to viewers. Yet you've got Nicole, the most watchable actress, playing her. And I was like, how is she going to find that balance? How does she stay true to the character and also make it a character worth spending time with? And then she starts acting, and you're like, well, that's why she's Nicole Kidman. That was incredible. She has this X factor, Same with Charlize. They just have a presence. They have that thing that makes you lean in as an audience member.
I think it was more what it was about, the sense of marking a moment in time, in history, really, because that's what it is. When you look back at it, it'll be a moment in history that sort of was hopefully the catalyst for enormous change. And the storytelling was so strong, and that it was told from the female point of view of, and I think, the way it's entertaining, but it's still very, very hard-hitting. That was really appealing. You have woven in these other stories, and then you have the Kayla character, who's obviously a fictionalized character, and you really, I think, viscerally feel through both Megan and through Kayla the abuse. I think with Gretchen, you don't get to see her actually in the room with Ailes and what's going on as much. So therefore, you see her when what she's up against and what she's trying to change, and what she's trying to, what she considers is her right. And that's powerful, I hope. Having those two at the helm does, that's what they do. I mean, they're very committed politically to what they believe, but they're able to entertain at the same time. And Jay's obviously done that time and time again. Charles did it with The Big Short, and Jay has, that's really his purpose and his passion, I think, in terms of filmmaking, is his desire for justice. This film, I think, is probably, deeply disturbing when you watch it, whether you're a male or a female. Hopefully it is, it should be, but it should also be like, when you have Kate McKinnon and Alison Janney and Connie Britton and all these extraordinary actors, and then you have John Lithgow, somehow managing to pull you into this Ailes character with such aplomb. You really go, wow, he's such an extraordinary addition to the cast.